Let's start, I think, fittingly enough, with the Olympics. Of course, Julie was there in Tokyo, late July, early August. Now, the U.S. ended up on the medal podium, but with the bronze medal. After they beat Australia 4-3 in the bronze medal match, Canada gets gold, Sweden silver. The U.S., though, went into the tournament as really heavy favorites. Yet in the end, they won just 2 of the 6 games played in Tokyo. So, Julie, here we are, about 4 months removed from the Olympics. Do we have any better sense at this point as to why this U.S. team didn't reach their own lofty expectations?
No, we don't, actually. When you ask players, as I have, or Vlatko Andonovski, I said, okay, now that we're months removed, what happened? And the one thing they talk about are the COVID restrictions and how hard that was on them to be so isolated. But they also consent that everyone was dealing with those same restrictions. But honestly, I think it had something to do with how concerned Vlatko Andonovski was with minutes and loads, because the games are so condensed at the Olympics. There's only 2 days rest. And he was, I think, overly conscious of how many minutes each player had. And so every roster was 6 changes, 5 changes. There was no consistency, no chemistry, no confidence. Those are all things, when you talk about the United States team, that they are, and they just weren't. None of that. To your point, only 2 wins out of the 6 at the Olympics. And I think it had something to do with that consistency and lack of.
Yeah, so the U.S., after winning gold in 2004, 2008, 2012, now back-to-back Olympics where the Americans haven't won it all. You know, Julie, if we look back at the last global championship, the 2019 World Cup, the U.S. not only won that tournament, they really kind of dominated, even down the stretch against the better opponents. There wasn't a ton of games where you felt like, okay, the Americans have lost control. I think it was a pretty clear statement in that World Cup that the U.S. were the best team in the world. Do we still feel that way as we think ahead to the World Cup coming up in 2023? Are the Americans still the favorites?
No, I don't think so. And I think you're spot on there, Sebi. We walked away from that 2019 World Cup and it was like, whew, that was a performance by them. They went through all of Europe, to do that in 2019. And now what you're seeing, obviously post-Olympics, and with so many players in their 30s on the roster, there's going to be a huge turnover, as there should be now. I don't think Vlatko Andonovski could have made it before the Olympics with COVID. He didn't know that was going to hit. It was a tight turn with the World Cup. But now there absolutely has to be a turnover in younger players. So I see this actually as a rebuilding phase for the United States. And the United States comes in. When was the last time this has ever happened? As an underdog almost going into this next World Cup. And although I think they're still ranked 1, 2 in the world, I don't think they are the best team in the world right now. And I think a lot of players would probably say the same thing.
So, Julie, if you got to rebuild this national team, you got to rebuild it with some stars. There are aging stars in the national team pool. And one of the things that I've really enjoyed here on Futbol Americas is we're talking a lot about the young players in this U.S. women's national team pool. A lot of the players that we see week in and week out getting the job done and then really excelling in the National Women's Soccer League. So I'm going to make it tough on you, but if you could pick like one next breakout star for the U.S. women's national team, is there a name at the top of the list for you?
Top of the list in terms of young is, I think, Trinity Rodman. We've seen what she's done immediately at 19 years old in her first season in the NWSL. I mean, she was fantastic this year, wins Rookie of the Year, helps lead her team to the title. And we haven't seen her at the full women's national team level, but she has, and I hate doing this to a young player, right? Because we've seen this happen to so many young players over the years. And you heap all this pressure on them. But this is a player that has, but I'm going to do it. This is a player that has speed. She's got technical ability. She can read the game. She can get in behind defenders. She can finish. She can assist. So she has all the elements, and I think everyone, including a lot of U.S. players, are excited to see her at that next level because she's ready, and she looks ready already.
Yeah, the NWSL Rookie of the Year, Trinity Rodman, with a great campaign for the Washington Spirit.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.